Thank you for joining us today. If you are just joining us in the slideshow, we explained that some of the videotaped musical selections, you have the option of staying within Zoom or leaving Zoom and going to YouTube Live for an enhanced audio experience. When that is about to happen, we will post a link with instructions for how to make it work and the YouTube Live link so that you can do that. But again, you don't have to if you don't want to, if it's just too much. So I'll turn it over to Kevin now to introduce Lucia.
Hello, everyone. Cheers. You can see my beer, sort of. I'm Kevin Kumar. I'm the co-founder and co-artistic director of Salastina. And I am totally thrilled to introduce you to our happy hour guest today, Lucia Micarelli. So I know Lucia, and I'm guessing it's the same for Maya too. I know Lucia from sharing a stand with her frequently sharing a stand with her on recording sessions for movies and TV shows and albums and that kind of stuff. And I don't know if she feels the same way, but I always really look forward to being stand partners with her because not only is she such a wonderful, wonderful musician, but she's also just hilarious and a lot of fun. And that counts for a lot for some of the more tedious projects that we get ourselves involved in. And I have to say, it took me a long time to appreciate what a rock star Lucia is outside of the studio world, because she doesn't feel the need to self-promote. She's just totally down to earth and cool and very low key about her career, outside. And if she does talk about the projects she's involved in, it's never to talk about how high profile they are or how fancy she is. It's always just talk about the substance, the content, the actual music that she's making. So I'm slowly starting to grasp the totality of Lucia's talent. I'm getting there. I'm not there yet, but I'm getting there. She's like not a triple threat. She's like a quadruple or quintuple threat, let's say. It's true.
Oh my God.
So her classical credentials are totally legit. She studied with Dorothy DeLay at Juilliard and Pinchas Zukerman at Manhattan School of Music. She has been soloing with orchestras from a very young age. She was the concertmaster and featured violinist of the Trans-Siberian, did I get that right? Trans-Siberian Orchestra. She's been the featured violinist alongside some of the biggest musical names in the industry.
Oh my gosh.
Let's see, what else can I tell you? Oh yeah, she was on an HBO series. Oh yeah, she just had a PBS special, her own PBS special, and the list goes on and on. So Lucia, we are so grateful that you are our happy hour guest today. Thank you.
Thank you. I am so grateful to have been asked, and I love you guys. And that was awful.
The truth.
But I have to say, I feel the same. I am always so happy when I'm your stand partner.
Oh, thank you.
We have a really good time sitting
Well,
next to each other.
sometimes too much.
Yeah, I mean, we get in trouble sometimes for having a good time.
So throughout the hour, we're going to play a lot of, well, not a lot, but we'll play some videos of Lucia, some of her performances. And later on in the hour, we're going to have a live performance from Lucia as well. But we thought we'd start off with something strictly classical. So could you tell us a little bit about this performance of Maurice Ravel's Tzigane?
Yeah, this is from my PBS special, and in my live shows, I really love a lot of different kinds of music, and my musical path has been so weird and windy that I've sort of ended up learning about jazz and playing folk music and learning all different kinds of styles. And so now when I put on a show or I present music to people, I like to have all these different styles represented because I really like all these things. And so my PBS special, I wanted to do that. But of course, it is meant to be for TV. So we had a very specific time frame that we could, and not just how long the whole special could be, but also each segment that would be broken up with pledge drives. And
got it. Okay.
Yeah, so I really wanted to include Tzigane, which was too long for TV apparently. So we did a sort of a edited down version, but it was super fun, and I love it. And Randy Kerber's playing, and he's awesome. And we did it up at Han Hall in Santa Barbara. It's super beautiful, and yeah.
Awesome. Okay, so Maya has put the instructions if you would like to listen to higher resolution audio on YouTube Live, or you can just stay here with us on Zoom.
So something that we've liked doing lately is asking all of our guests to answer kind of like the raison d'etre of our organization, which is how would you respond to the question, like, what does making classical music relevant to a forward-looking society mean to you in your life and in the work that you do?
Mm-hmm. I mean, and I'm curious about this because we're all in the same industry, but we all have different experiences within that. For me personally, and in the I would say like the majority of performances that I do, my audience is mostly not classical. They're not super familiar with classical music. And so for me, making classical music relevant is about loving it and playing it and sharing it and presenting it and just living it and trying to share my love for it with everyone that I come across. And also maybe because I mostly interact with people who aren't maybe regular classical audiences, I feel super optimistic about, like I actually almost in a way I'm like, what do you mean having it be relevant? It's so relevant because I see all the time how people respond to it, just humans and little kids and older and just all, and it's, I think, yeah, I think I exist in some kind of weird space where my interactions prove to me over and over and over again that like not only is it relevant, but it's equal to all other music. I mean, it's something that I really strive to do in my live shows is to present all these different kinds of music as equal next to each other and with respect and love, just because I love it. And I've found that doing that, I don't come up against anyone who's like, yeah, you don't want to hear that classical music. And so for me, I think it's just playing it and sharing it and loving it and being passionate about, wanting to share that love with other people. But I feel like that's also probably the same, for all of us that are performing classical
Yeah,
music.
I mean, I think what sets you apart is the context you've created for your life and your career to allow for that. I think that it's the guiding principle for a lot of classical musicians, but where some may get stuck is in the kind of more off-putting or sort of aristocratic or old-fashioned kind of context that you have really deliberately avoided, you know.
Or maybe accidentally. I mean, I don't know. I really love like it's. I don't mostly play for non-classical audiences necessarily by choice. It's sort of where the people who find out about me, the ways that they found out about me. But it's ended up being something that I really love because I feel like I'm actually bringing something to people who maybe they haven't heard it before. A lot of times people will come to my concerts and they've never seen chamber music before, but at the same time, like I love playing, classical concerts for classical audiences, so I yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think it can seem like something, but I remember Kevin and I talked about it the other day a little bit about really trying to just like ask questions and understand where everyone is coming from and what it is that they're looking for in their experience of concerts and in their experience of music and what they're seeking in that.
Yeah. Actually, maybe we can well, we can get to this, but um, you and I have kind of swapped stories about Korean tiger moms a little bit. Yours might have been more tiger than mine, but can you tell us a little bit about your early training? And because I mean, you started off like just in playing the violin in the classical world, right?
Yeah. I was gonna say, don't we all just have one mom? It's like just the one mom.
I
Um,
see your point. Yes.
I don't know. My mom, I think my mom wanted me to play an instrument since before I was born. And um, when I was 3, she took me to the local Suzuki school, and she had wanted me to play piano, and they said my hands were too small to start piano and that I should come back in a year, and she didn't want to wait. So she was like, well, what can she start now? And they said she could start violin. And then, I mean, I don't really remember. I'm sure it's the same for you guys. We all started so young. Like, I don't remember starting. I don't remember not playing. It was creepy. Like, I'm sure, like, how old were you guys when you started?
I mean, I started on the piano when I was 4 or 5, but I had a Korean piano teacher who used to hit my fingers with my hands with a pencil.
Right.
And my mom was like, "We're not in Korea. You can't do that anymore." And so, yeah. And so she took me out of that. And then I started violin after that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Maya, how old were you when you started?
Sorry, 6.
You were 6. Do you
Yeah.
remember? I mean, do you have memories of like learning in the beginning?
Oh, definitely.
Oh,
Yeah, definitely. In
was
fact,
it
I
fun
just,
right
oh yeah, totally. I remember it just, there was this store. I just had to get a COVID test a couple days ago on Larchmont Boulevard, and there was a violin shop there called Weishar, and it doesn't exist anymore, which was just kind of sad to see that it was gone. But
Kind
I
of.
did, right.
I have some stories. I have some stories about that shop.
I know
Yeah,
this
I
Yes.
story.
Okay.
I didn't
You're
really
very
want to go there. Yeah, yeah, but the Vice car of the '80s, I'm talking about now. But I remember the smell, like raw. It was just like sheer magic. And now having small children, just imagining how they might have experienced something like that sort of makes you dig up your own memories and sort of with a different lens. But yeah, I mean, I remember taking the violin home and like pulling the bow across the strings and being like, I'm actually making a good sound. I mean, who even knows what it sounded like? But I thought I was pretty great.
I remember when I was 6, I fit like a few years ago, I found some diary that I had when I was like 6 and 7, and I had written in it like, when I grow up, I'm going to be a violinist because I'm only 6 years old and I am already in Suzuki Book 4. I'm like, wow, okay. Just a little of that confidence still would be great.
well. So okay. So I mean, your career took off pretty early, right?
I mean, I started my career. I started when I was 3, and I did Suzuki, and then I was, I don't know, I did a competition. And my family moved from Queens to Hawaii when I was like 5, and then I continued violin there, and then I did some, like Honolulu Symphony competition when I was 7 or 6 or 7, and I won. So I played with orchestra, and then I ended up playing quite a bit in Hawaii I lived there for 6 years, 5 or 6 years, and so I played with the symphony a bunch of times, and I did a bunch of recitals and like weird, I don't know, Hawaii competitions, and then came to the mainland a few times to do some other competitions, and then ended up making my family like move back to Queens to go to Juilliard Prep. Yeah, when I was
Yeah.
11. So
Okay, I'm going to fast forward a little bit to when you were studying with Pinchas Zukerman, and you were telling me about at that time, like around that time, is when you became interested in other types of music, right?
yeah. I mean, I think part of it too is that I had been at pre-college at Juilliard from the age 11. So by the time I went and studied with Zuckerman, when I was like 17 or 18, I'd already sort of been in that conservatory world for a while, and I mean, I loved it, and I loved all my people there, and it was definitely like my tribe and my place. But at the same time, I felt weirdly ill-equipped, like in the world as a musician. I mean, I first was just sort of interested. I never listened to anything except classical music until I was 17, and then a friend of mine like made me a mix CD. So that's what we did then. Made me a mix CD that had like Coltrane and Miles Davis and like Pink Floyd and Led Zeppelin, and I never heard of any of that stuff. And
Yeah.
I was just so fascinated. And so then I started like trying to understand jazz, trying to understand like classic rock, and I kept just having these weird. I had a couple of just like weird experiences of, I wanted to try and improvise because I got really into jazz, and I didn't understand how they did that, and then I was trying to learn, and it was so hard for me to not just play notes that were written and make up notes. And I sat in with a couple of different rock bands and had a really difficult time again, just like fitting what I do into what they did. And I ended up sort of feeling real frustrated, where I was like, it's ridiculous that, like, I went to Juilliard for all these years and I can't just like make up a part to play with this R&B band, and this song has like 5 chords in it and I don't know what to do. So it made me just really want to be able to not just be a classical musician, but be a musician that could sort of fit in. Like I wanted to be able to like meet a musician anywhere and do something with them and make music with them and be able to communicate that way, because I felt really like outside, so I
Yeah.
think that was sort of the impetus.
I
Well,
see.
the next thing that we're going to hear, I think you really succeeded. This is such a cool mashup. So I'm going to post the instructions again for those of you who are late. And if you'd like to listen on YouTube Live, you can do so, or just stay in Zoom.
was fantastic.
It's fun.
Okay, so before we go on, we're just gonna do a quick thing for Salastina here. This is our 25th happy hour, and while these happy hours are free to the public, they are not free to produce, and we have a lot of projects going on. Even during this time, even though we don't have live performances right now, we have a lot of different projects going on, and we would like to continue these happy hours for the foreseeable future. So we know it's not an easy time for everybody, but if you have the means and you're willing, we would love it if you would donate to Salastina. And I think we will put a link in the chat. There it is, with different ways to give to Salastina. And thank you for being here. You can take a look at that at your leisure. So let's see. I think, Lucia, are you good to like at 7:00 kind of stay for?
Yeah.
A little, okay, awesome. Because we're a little bit behind our schedule, but I want to make sure that we get to everything too.
It's because I talk too much.
No, it's not you.
Also because I haven't seen you guys in so long.
I know. It's been a really long time.
I know.
It's true. So can you tell us a little bit about your PBS special? Like, how did that come about? How did you pick the music that you played? Where was it filmed? Somebody asked that in the chat.
It was filmed at Hahn Hall up in Santa Barbara at Music Academy of the West, which is an awesome little hall and beautiful venue. And how did it come about? I mean, I have been in a bunch of other people's PBS specials. I did a PBS special with Josh Groban, and I did a PBS special with Chris Botti. That was really fun. That was all duets that he did, and he didn't tell me it was going to be all duets. He just asked me if I would be in his PBS special with him, and he sent me the song, and I really loved the song, and I didn't know until I got there that like all of his other duet partners were like Yo-Yo Ma and Sting and Steven Tyler and John Mayer, and I was like, what am I
But they
doing?
were in good company with you.
Yeah, that's right.
It was really, really fun. But anyway, so I've known PBS, and they've known about me for a while, and my manager has a great relationship with them, and they've just sort of been following stuff over time, and they knew that I was starting to do solo shows, and so they kind of approached us and asked if we wanted to do something like that, and how did I mean the program is representative of what I was playing in my live show at the time, which is I would say it's about half classical, and then the other half is some jazz, some folk music, Americana, other things that I like. And so, for that show, I was working with sort of what I was performing live at the time, but also because we're working within the limitations of time, and I knew it was going to be for television, I was trying to I wanted to include as many of the things that I thought, the elements that I thought were really special for this television audience, so I wanted to make sure that there was a chamber music element that was strong, because I feel like that's something that that most people don't get, a lot of people don't ever get to see that, even if they go and see symphonies, or even if they go to the opera, being able to bring a chamber music element to something that was going to be on PBS felt exciting to me, and important.
Represent.
And then also just a lot of personal stuff, like a lot of personal stories. I mean, one of the initially what seemed like a problem was that when I sat down to put together a show that I would want to play, it was so many different kinds of music that it seemed almost like it could be really disjunct and difficult to understand. And I kind of was sitting with that for a while, and I realized that my show is like my home Spotify playlist, and I think everybody has that. We were talking the other day about the way that people consume music these days. Everyone is consuming on streaming, and most everyone nowadays listens to lots of different things, and so it's that personal element. what made me make sense of my own show was realizing that, like, oh, I'm just representing me. It's like you're coming to my house and I'm playing you the music that I love. And so if I string it all together with stories of why the stuff matters to me, then maybe it can be coherent and make sense, you know? And so I try to have it be real personal, and I don't know, fun and all over the place. And I like to show off all my friends. I have super talented friends, so I like to do that as much as possible. And, you know, depending on who is playing with me, I always want to like find ways for them to shine.
Oh, it's clear in Kashmir that you did that. Um, so, in case any of you have questions for Lucia, please feel free to type them in the chat, and we will either relay them to her, or you can ask them yourself to Lucia later. Just letting you know that's going to be coming up later. But you know, sitting next to you, I'm ashamed to say I didn't know this, but sitting next to you, sometimes you'll be like, you know, we'll have a lull in the recording session, and then you'll just start humming something, or just kind of like tinkling on the violin and just singing something. And I've always wanted to say, Lucia, you have a beautiful voice, you should sing. And I'm kind of, no, but listen, I actually didn't know how much you sang, like how much is a part of if you're performing until recently. And the next two clips that we have are examples of that. So can you tell us a little bit? Well, the first one, Time After Time, is pretty, you give an introduction. We included the introduction about, you know, what the context is for that. But is that something that you've picked up, that you've done for a long, long time?
I started singing when I was doing Treme, when I was acting on that HBO series that I did. I had never sung before. I also never acted before that, so that was totally crazy. But when I ended up getting that show, while I was doing the show, David Simon, who's the creator of the show, he also created The Wire and The Deuce, and like really fantastic. He does amazing, amazing television. But anyway, he decided that my character, it was time for her to stop playing with all the street musicians and start her own band, and that she needed to write songs. And he was like, that means you have to sing now and write songs. And so
Okay.
I started singing on the show, and it was real weird. It's like it's already uncomfortable enough to just do anything where you're like on camera and people watch you, but especially when you're like doing something for the first time and you're doing it with like in front of an audience every week, you're just like, ah. So it was super uncomfortable. But somehow, despite that, like by the end of, we did 4 seasons, and by the end of the show, there was some part of me that was like, I don't know, I really like it. I think part of it is just being an instrumentalist, and how I mean, I love being an instrumentalist, and I love not having to use words, but there is something really, really powerful about words. And I felt that was it. Like every time I sing, I feel super vulnerable and really just, I don't know, very uncomfortable. So that means it's a good thing for me to do. So a few years ago, when my father was suffering from Parkinson's, we had a really beautiful experience together through music. He was losing the ability to speak, and it was hard for him to remember words and put together sentences. It was just very frustrating for him to communicate with us, and for us as well. And one day, when I went to go visit him, I happened to bring my violin with me. And it was around Christmas time, so I started playing A Christmas Carol. I started playing Silent Night. And the most incredible thing happened. He started singing along. And he remembered all the words. And he remembered the melody perfectly. And it was just crazy. You know, this man, in one moment, he couldn't speak. And in the next moment, he was singing effortlessly. So I played a lot of Christmas carols that day, and then I talked to my mom about what were some of his favorite songs throughout his life, and a lot of Frank Sinatra and Ella and Billie Holiday, and so I learned a bunch of them. And then whenever I'd go visit him, I would play, and we would sing together, and we were able to have these really beautiful moments together because of music. This next song was one of his favorites. It's called Time After Time.
time after time, I tell myself that I'm so lucky to be loving you. So lucky to be the one you run to see in the evening when the day is through. I only know what I know. The passing years will show you've kept my love so young, so new. And time after time, you'll hear me say that I'm so lucky to be loving you. I only know what I know. The passing years will show you've kept my love so young, so new. And time after time, you'll hear me say that I'm so lucky to be loving you. They brought around for the cellar, and they heard his tale of a world that was so far away, and a song they'd never heard, a song of a little bird fell in love with a whale. You said you never can live in the ocean, and she said to him, you never can live in the sky. is filled with tears, and the sea turns into a mirror. There's a whale in the moon when it's clear, and a bird on the tide. Please don't cry, let me dry your eyes. Tell me that you'll wait for me, hold me in your arms, and promise we never will part. I will never sail back to the tide, but I will always pretend you're mine. Though I know that we both must part, you can live in my heart. Please don't cry, let me dry your eyes. Tell me that you'll wait for me, hold me in your arms, and promise we never will part. I will never sail back to the tide, but I will always pretend you're mine. Though I know that we both must part, you can live in my heart.
Ah. That's so sweet. Well, okay, so now it looks like that's something. What's that?
That's Tom Waits. He writes such good songs.
Well, you did a beautiful job. So that looks like something that was done recently, like during the quarantine.
Yeah.
So what's that been like for you these days, and how are you feeling about what's going to happen when we come out of it, or your creativity in the next few months?
I mean, it's been fun. It was definitely weird. It's weird to be so in limbo. And it is scary when we are focused on, when your concert's going to come back, when is it going to be normal again? But I find when I don't think so much about when will it go back to how it was, and I think more about, I mean, this year has been so intense. We have the pandemic, we have politics, we have fires and hurricanes and all sorts of things happening. I mean, we have, there's just so much happening, and it feels like a big stirring up and something, there's obviously been a lot of reflection, self-reflection on everybody's part, having all this time, but also just, witnessing everything that's happening. And I feel like all that stuff, like change and in a way, like uncertainty, having stuff churned up is actually kind of a great thing. It can be a really great thing. I mean, we were talking earlier, and I feel like, humans are super adaptable, and we are being forced to think about everything so differently. Think about how we work differently. Think about where we live, how we live, who we spend time with, how we spend our time, how we are as a community, how we connect to each other, how we communicate. I mean, everything is being overhauled, and I think that that's kind of amazing for everyone, but especially, yes, we're in music, but essentially we're in a performative art, which is a connective space, and so I don't know, I feel like there's a lot of possibility and cool stuff that could come out of this, and certainly a lot of desire for connection that is building and hopefully will spill over, and I'll be so excited for that, but yeah, collaborating with that's the guitar player is my amazing friend Leonardo Amuedo. He's so genius. He's from Uruguay, and he's just such a beautiful player and such a beautiful person, and it's been real fun to do stuff with him. We kind of started working on an album late last year, and then quarantine kind of halted that because we'd rather be in the same room, but it's been fun to do these videos with him, and I've done some videos with other friends, and I want to do a video with you guys.
Oh my God.
Oh my God, we'd love that. We'd love it. You said it. You can't take it back now, Lucia. You cannot take it back.
I won't take it back. And then also, Meredith played the last,
that's right.
Second to last show that I had before quarantine. Meredith played that song that Leo and I the video that you just played. Meredith sang with me we sang that song together in February. Yeah, Meredith, I don't know if you know, but Meredith has an amazing...
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, we know that, but she totally undersold that. She was like, I just imagined that she gave you some oohs and ahs or something.
No.
More details.
No, we fully sang that song together. She's
so amazing.
Literally my favorite experience of my whole life, Lucia. I'm honestly just was crying a few minutes ago. It was so beautiful. What a treat to do that with you. Mwah, mwah.
Okay, so we have some in the chat, some witnesses to this video, but I think that means that Meredith has to sing too.
Yes.
Yes. Well, so Lucia, you said, so you have not been inactive during this quarantine because you literally made a movie. I'm just gonna say this. Can I spill the beans, or do you do it?
Yeah, spill the beans, please. You say. So
Lucia is the star of an upcoming Hallmark movie, literally the star. And the last, I guess in August, maybe they shot the film. I was like, quarantine, and she's like, I just made a movie.
Did you see Meredith's face just now? I mean, there's a lot of OMGs in the chat box, but she was like,
yes. Not just
Hallmark.
she is like the star of it, the lead character.
There's a male lead.
Nobody watches it. Yeah, whatever.
Let's not. Michael's also. We are co-stars.
Michael, if you're here.
Michael Brady.
So, can you tell us about that experience? And what was that like?
First of all, just to get an offer like that in the middle of quarantine was completely unexpected. I had heard that a couple, production companies were just starting up productions again. I had read that, but still seemed super complicated. And also, I haven't acted in quite a few years. I did Treme for 4 years, and then I did a little guest spot on a show called Manhattan. And then, I was just sort of focused on music. And then out of nowhere in the end of May, they Hallmark called and said, they had this script that was, this is so weird. It was about a violinist that had an injury, at a very important point in her career, and then and the movie takes place while she's sort of recovering from this injury. And I had an injury, and it was I just remember started reading the script, and I was like, this is super creepy. I have goosebumps, and also
it probably was written exactly for you. I
don't know. It was, but of course I said yes. It's so fun. I've never done film before. I've been part of on Treme, I was part of an ensemble cast. I've never been a lead, and just, I don't know, it was just like too curious and
Yeah.
it was so much fun. I mean, we shot in Utah, and obviously heavy COVID protocol, but amazing director Claire Niederprum, and like such a fantastic crew, and I had so much fun. I think I was like apprehensive that the whole time I would just sort of feel like I was like running along next to the train and not knowing what I was doing. But I ended up like, I had such a great time. And also, you know, as I'm playing in the film, and Claire was everybody was so awesome about letting me sort of dictate, other than of course like the Christmas songs. We have to have Christmas songs because it's a Christmas movie, but since this is a movie about a violinist and sort of her experiences as a violinist, they let me sort of choose music for different scenes, and so I was able to like put some like, I put a bunch of classical music in there, and I got to like really play, and we shot all the music live, and so that stuff. So it was like so much fun. Where I was.
Well, I was gonna say, like, did you try to be authentic and like hold the violin like most, you know, like the wrong way, or like, you know, like most movie violinists are clearly not violinists, you know. So we always cringe when we see those things. And it's definitely not them playing.
Right.
This is like the real thing, which is so rare and awesome.
Yeah, it was really fun. I mean, it was really fun to be, I just felt like I was being stretched to the max, and I really enjoy that feeling, you know, where I was like super immersed in a thing. We shot it real fast. We shot the movie in like less than 20 days, and they were super, super long days, and I'm acting and playing and everything just sort of really stretched and challenged, and I really had a great time. So
awesome.
Yeah, it's called The Christmas Bow.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm supposed to do this.
Yes. Yeah, totally.
It's called The Christmas Bow, and I believe that it's premiering on the Hallmark channel, and also Hallmark Movies and Mysteries channel. I believe it's going to be November 6th, but you can Google The Christmas Bow and Hallmark.
That's amazing.
And you'll find it.
We should do like a Zoom watch together or something like that. Wouldn't that be fun?
Can we do like a mystery science theater with like a whole bunch of beer? Well, every time somebody drinks hot chocolate, we have
to take a shot. Okay, so we were gonna play a clip of Treme, but we are really out of time. So is it okay if we jump right to your live song?
Yes.
Yay.
Okay.
And guys, just so you know, we sound checked this with Lucia beforehand. Zoom has totally upped its audio game, so for live playing, you can stay within Zoom. We've done high fidelity mode. You don't need to do a thing to enjoy. So all that said.
Don't say that. If it was bad, I was going to blame Zoom.
Still do that. There's lots of tech gremlins. But also not going to happen. So you're going to introduce the song. That would be awesome.
This is called Careless Love.
Love, oh love, oh careless love, you fly through my hand like wine. You wreck the lives of many poor girls, and you let me spoil this life of mine. Love, oh careless love. In your clutches of desire, you made me break a many true vow. Then you set my very soul on fire. Love, oh careless love. All my happiness I have left, 'cause you fill my heart with these weak judgment. I learned to love, oh love, oh careless love.
So, this is the kind of official end of the evening. You're all welcome to stay, and it's so nice of Lucia to offer to sort of field some questions. We'll get through some of the ones that were in the chat. You can also unmute yourselves. But before we do that, just want to reiterate what Kevin said, that these happy hours, we're so happy to do them every week for free, but they're not free to produce. So if you would kindly consider giving a donation in support of these if you're able to, that would be so appreciated. Every little bit goes a really long way. Just so you know, we've already raised $860 tonight. So
Oh my God.
hopefully that inspires you to contribute. You're in really generous company. And thank you to those of you who've done so. So yeah, that concludes the pledge drive portion of the event. And let's start with some of the questions that came in.
So there were a bunch of questions, Lucia, about your violin. People want to know what's up with your violin.
It's on loan and I'm not supposed to talk about it, but it's real nice.
So you're not supposed to tell everybody it's a Stradivarius. Got it.
It's not a Stradivarius, but it is on loan, and it's and I love it so much. And yeah.
Okay, that's all we can say, people. Sorry. Let's see. Let's go back up. We talked about the movie. And by the way, everyone, this is, Marissa, I don't know if we've already done this, but this is also a time when you can unmute yourself and just say hello to Lucia or us or whatever. We are going to moderate the questions, but you can unmute yourself as well. Okay, so KT Somero asks, clearly it was a great idea for you to pursue a diversity of musical styles, and it's worked out super well. Did your classical teachers think you were crazy when you wanted to explore jazz, folk, rock, etc.? Yeah, what did Pinky say?
Pinky didn't know.
Nice.
I mean, I really, yeah. When I was still in conservatory environment, I kind of didn't really, I didn't really talk much about it, and then weirdly, I just ended up, I mean, the first job I ever got was with Trans-Siberian Orchestra, which is a gigantic rock opera Christmas show that does like arena tours, and it has like the pyro people from Kiss. And I was like knee deep in fog on stage, like playing like electric violin on like Carol of the Bells. So I just kind of swiftly went all the way to the extreme. But yeah, no, people didn't know when I was in school. Obviously, people know about it now. So I haven't had any horrible reactions. I think it was obvious I was gonna be a little weird when I was little. So. I don't think anyone was like too shocked. They're just like,
Okay.
so weird.
So he literally did not know at all. Like it was. How did you do that? I mean,
I know, yeah.
Weren't you touring and stuff? I mean, didn't you have to take lessons?
I went to touring when I was in school. I mean, I was in school and then I left and started working and yeah. So, but when I was touring, I mean, I was fully touring and I wasn't doing school anymore.
Yeah. Okay.
Lucia, I love this question from Andy and Esteban. They asked, in all your various creative efforts, acting, violin, singing, do they pull from the same inner well, or do you find that they tap different inner wells?
I think that they're very similar, actually. And the more that I do, the more experience that I have with the things, the more I definitely feel that they all are, for me at least, very, very emotional. And then it's very much, it's about storytelling. And there's an empathy element that somehow plays very strongly in it for me. I don't know exactly how that works, but for me, the connective part of music and storytelling, especially in the acting, especially the acting is very empathetic for sure, but the music is too. And yeah, for me, it's about finding an emotional place or finding a story and then trying to be as direct about it as possible and connecting to other people and being open to their experiences too. I mean, I also really love how all those things have helped me. Like, I've met so many people, so many amazing people, and heard so many like pretty intense and personal stories from people through these various mediums that I have, and I love that, like being able to really connect with people in a deep way.
Pam, do you want to unmute yourself and ask your question about improvising? Oh, hi.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I didn't even know about you until now. I'd become a big fan of Charles Yang and
I
love how the violin is crossing all of these borders, and I want to do that too, but I can't improvise. I'm so trained classically that even when the orchestra's like, okay, it's someone's birthday, let's all play happy birthday, and like, where's the music? You said you had that same experience.
Yeah.
What did you do to learn how to improvise and get beyond notes on a page?
Two things. I mean, first thing is just like, you have to just keep, well, I don't know, that's what my general process with anything is just like, just keep trying and just keep sucking at it until you somehow you get a little better over time. So you got to just keep trying it and throwing yourself into that situation. But also, when I toured with Chris Botti, he has an incredible band that he plays with, and those are all like super intense jazz cats. And I talked to them a lot about sort of what their training was like and how they grew up, because you know, it's just as intense as classical, but it's in a different headspace. And they all said, which I was surprised by, they all said that the way that in the beginning, the way that they learned how to improvise was to learn all of their favorite solos.
Yeah.
So, you know, you'd think that that's that's cheating, or that's not working the right part of the brain that you need to make the notes up. But I think what it does is in the notating of the solo and spending the time learning the solo, I think you end up like learning little licks and little ways to get from one chord to another, and then you just sort of have this toolbox of all these different tricks. And it's the same as what all the greats had. They just had a toolbox after a while, you know. Yeah. So I would say that, like, learn all your favorite solos and write them down and play them, and then just keep making yourself try and improvise, and don't be embarrassed.
I think that's amazing advice. You know, since we didn't get to play the clip from Treme, let's see if Michael is still here. If you'd like to ask your question about Steve Earle. Maybe not. Well, his question was great. He asked, what advice did Steve Earle give you about performing Americana songs during your time together on Treme?
Performing Americana songs. I mean, he didn't give me advice about Americana songs. I love Steve, and I just talked to him like a week ago. We're still friends. I love that guy so much. We did have a really interesting relationship because, you know, in the show, his character Harley was my character's, Annie's, like, mentor. And in the show, his character was always like telling my character, you know, you gotta sing and you gotta write songs, and like you should front your own band and you should blah, blah, blah. But then in real life, at the same time, he was telling me all the same stuff. In real life, he was like, you really should sing and you should really write a song. You should learn how to write songs. And at that point in time, I hadn't done solo shows before. So I had only like toured with other artists, and he was telling me then, like, you should put together a group and you should be doing solo shows. And actually the first time I ever tried to write a song, I wrote a song, well, I wrote the chords and the melody for a song, and he wrote the lyrics, and that became a song called After Mardi Gras that we ended up doing on the show. But then he put it on an album. So the first song that I ever like wrote, I co-wrote it with Steve Earle, and now I have like half publishing on it. It's like, it's unbelievable. Like, Steve is so encouraging, and yeah, he also doesn't like have like genre defining stuff. I don't even think he thinks about what he does as Americana. He thinks of what he does as storytelling. And also, if Michael is still watching, and if he is a big Steve Earle fan, I wonder if he knows about Steve's writing, Steve's short stories. He's an amazing writer and author, and he has short stories and a novel that he published, and they're fantastic. And Steve's like a Renaissance man. He's an actor and a writer and a musician and just everything. So
Awesome. Hey, by the way, Ian Walker's here.
oh my gosh,
Ian was the bassist in on that PBS special. So hey, Ian.
the bassist.
The bassist.
Oh, Ian.
Stephen Thompson, do you want to unmute yourself and ask the question? We're like brutal here. We give you 3 seconds, and if it doesn't happen, we just like, your chance is over.
Hello.
Okay.
Hi. Oh my gosh. Hi. How are you?
Doing
Good.
fine. Awesome. It's good to see you again. I'm glad you're playing music. And my question was, you said you're working in a work in progress album. What are your influences on this album besides the Tom Waits song?
Well, with Leo, we're doing kind of it's super, super acoustic. It's just going to be, it's like violin and vocal and guitar. We might have, maybe if we're lucky, Ian will come and play bass. So we're trying to keep it real small. And it's mostly love songs or love lost songs. It's because, you know, Leo and I are such good friends, and we were talking about how we like all kinds of music, and we love like Chick Corea, and we love like Beethoven, and we love all this stuff. But really, at the end of the night, like when you're having a cocktail and you're winding down, you just want to listen to like some love songs and something real like acoustic, and like someone's whispering in your ear. So we decided we're gonna make a record like that. We're gonna make a cocktail record for ourselves. It's good to see you,
Good
man.
to see you.
Thank you for watching. Mwah.
Connie, do you want to ask your question? Connie Crawford? 3, 2, 1. So Connie asks if you're going to be touring the East Coast when the pandemic clears.
Hopefully. I mean, I don't know what I have on the books right now. Even the stuff that I was supposed to have at the, for the rest of this year, most of it has, I'd say like 70% of it got rescheduled, but we'll see if that pans out. And then the other bit hasn't been rescheduled, but I'm hoping that we'll bust out of this, that we'll all bust out of this and play tons of concerts. So I keep all of my, Facebook and the website and everything updated, and definitely as soon as we're allowed to again, I'm hoping to get out there.
What's your website?
LuciaMicarelli.com.
There you go. Frank May, do you want to ask your question? 3.
Okay, I got it.
All right.
In time. I saw you here in Atlanta at Chastain Park, and I came up to you and said, and I actually went to see you, and it was absolutely marvelous that Ian Anderson was also on the bill. I came up to you and said, that old man behind you with the flute is pretty good. But do you still keep in contact with him? And because y'all were great together, absolutely marvelous.
Thank you. Oh, that was a while ago. That was so fun. I toured with Jethro. I don't know my friends. I toured with Jethro Tull for
Oh, really? I didn't know that. That's awesome.
So,
It's actually
Frank saw me play with Jethro Tull
Nice.
in Atlanta.
Eon Anderson and Jethro Tull's the band.
Right.
Yeah.
Ian Anderson. We're in touch here and there. We're not like super best friends or whatever, but he's amazing. I mean, he's an amazing guy. He is probably one of the smartest people I've ever met, and just real interesting and curious. And that was such a trip, especially I had just been touring with Josh Groban, and I felt like I was itching for something different. So I think that was as far different as I could have gone, and it was so much fun to tour with them. Yeah.
Lucia, I have a question that I realized I don't know the answer to. Obviously, I wouldn't be asking it. When and why did you move to LA?
I was in the middle of touring. I had a break. I had a few months break from touring. Actually, I was on tour with Josh Groban. Vanessa came on that tour. So I met Vanessa for the first time, and we were on tour together. And she was telling me how great LA is and all of her friends and
So
what a
this
cool
is
community.
Vanessa Freeburn-Smith. She's
This
the
is Vanessa
cellist
Freeburn-Smith.
on Lucia's PBS special. Yeah.
And just in our community here.
Yeah.
And and so I met her, we became friends, and she was just telling me how great it is out here. And at the time my base was in New York when I wasn't touring, and I was just like, I don't know, it sounds like something I'd try. And I had a few months off from touring, so I like subletted a place out here, and then I ended up like, oh, I'll keep my sublet for another 6 months, and then I don't know, now it's been a really long time. But I don't miss, and it's weird because I was such a New Yorker. I always thought I was never ever leave New York.
Oh,
and
man.
now when I go back to New York, I'm just like,
Ew.
like,
I know. I lived in New York for 4 years, and I no offense to anybody who's in New York right now, but I don't think I'd go back.
I mean, I love it still, but I don't know. I can't live there. Like,
Donna Pacelli, if you'd like to ask your question. 3, 2, the suspense is killing me. 1. Okay, so Donna asks, what has been the most fun genre to learn?
I can't say what's the most fun. I really enjoy, it's all real personal, you know? So, I mean, I had an experience learning old-time fiddle music from a family of old-time fiddle players that I like lived with for a week because I wanted to learn about.
Who is this?
You know, or like I've had a lot of experiences like that. Like when I was working on Treme in New Orleans, I learned about trad jazz from the trad jazz bands that I play with, and I'd spend, you know, and I'd have this immersive experience. Or like when and that's what I love. I mean, even with classical music, it's like, I don't know how you guys feel, but I'm like, for me, like the rehearsing and the like working with people and that sort of like, you know, or like summer camp, like being in an immersive environment where you're just doing the thing and you're learning from the people around you. That's like the most fun. And so it's not so much genre that makes it fun. It's like the people that I've gotten to learn from. Yeah.
Yeah, totally. Agreed. Paula Surkar, would you like to ask your question?
Everyone's shy now.
You know, you can also, at this point, if you just want to unmute yourself to say hi to Lucia, to us, to each other, you're welcome to do that too.
Yeah. Okay, I'll ask for Paula. She wants to know about that show in Boston years ago when she first saw and heard you playing in the Chris Botti show, where you were introduced as the rock star. How did you feel playing in that show and working with Chris Botti? Yeah, that's the question.
Is she talking about was she there for his PBS special? Because
I'm not sure.
It might be because when, you know, I did the PBS special I mentioned earlier with Chris, and he didn't tell me that it was all duets and that all the other duet partners were like a really big deal. And so that was in Boston. That was with the Boston Pops. It was
nice.
so much fun. It was just so much, because I mean, when I really just didn't know. And so I showed up for rehearsal, and then I was like, why is Yo-Yo Ma here? And why are all these people here? And I was so excited. So like 2 days of rehearsal, I just sat there all day and like watched rehearsals, like watched everyone else's rehearsals. And then we did a few shows, and it was just totally surreal and so much fun. And, you know, that was definitely really cool. Yeah.
I have a question for you. Did you ever take singing lessons?
When when I was doing Treme and David asked me to start singing, I took singing lessons from my friend Cy Smith, who's a brilliant singer, and I met her with Chris Botti. I met her on the Chris Botti tour, and I took like lessons with her for about 6 months, I want to say, during the first season when I had to start singing, and then I just go to YouTube and watch what people do. I'm like, how do you do with the mic? How do you do? Oh, like go like this, and I
I see, for that kind
do
of
that
stuff.
for violin too. I go on YouTube and I'm like, what fingering is she using? Oh, that's good. YouTube is amazing.
This is Paula. Lucia, thank you for taking my question. I've become a fan of yours since I saw you on that Boston Pop show with Chris Botti. And I completely understood your energy, and I was in tears. And since then, I want to be like you, and I'm 62 years old.
Oh gosh. Oh, thank you, and I love you, and that's so sweet.
Thank you, Lucia. Thank you for bringing the joy and back to my violin. I'm an amateur violin player, and I keep thinking I can still have. You know, I understand your energy so much. It really inspires me. So thank you.
Thank you. Oh, I'm gonna cry now. Thank you so much.
Hey, Lucia, you know, have you always performed without shoes?
It's been a long time, yeah.
Yeah, it has. Okay.
Yeah.
I accidentally did that once, like when I forgot my dress shoes. And,
I remember that.
Yeah, and I walked on stage, and people were like, "Dude, it was awesome." Or like, "Are you on a spiritual path?"
You just
And
say yes.
I was like, "Yeah, that's right. I didn't just forget my shoes." Let's see.
How did you feel though when that happened? Like, how did you feel playing?
I loved it. I totally loved it, and I would probably perform without. I had socks on, but I probably would do it without it. But my wife says that my feet, I look like I have hobbit feet. So I probably, you know, maybe it was like Lord of the Rings.
Well, if your feet were like so beautiful, it would be distracting from the music.
You're right. Yes.
Oh, perfect.
I think she's watching tonight. I'm just kidding. So
I once saw Katie Lang at Disney Hall, and she sang her whole concert barefoot.
Yeah. There's lots of people that do. There's lots of people that play barefoot and sing barefoot, and yeah, I'm into it.
Yeah, totally. Okay, so I think we went through the questions. I just want to thank you, Lucia.
Thank you, guys.
No, this has been awesome. This has been so much fun.
And I miss you guys.
Yeah,
and,
likewise.
Yeah, thank you so much.
And we're gonna hold you to your, you know.
Let's do something.
Let's do something.
Let's make a thing.
All right.
Okay.
Yes, please. Yes, please.
Yes, let's make a thing. Seriously, let's think about what we should play, what we should do. Okay.
Awesome. Amazing.
You guys are doing awesome stuff. Thank you for having me. I really,
of course. Thank you again for joining us. And for those of you who are new to what we do this every week. It's free. Next week is a great composer named Kristen. The week after that, we have a Swedish nickel harpa player. For those of you who are not new to us and are accustomed to the 6 p.m. start time, please note that that one is at 10 a.m. because he's in Sweden. So anyways, we hope to see all of you back at some point. And yeah, thank you. Thanks, Lucia.
Thanks, Lucia.
Thank you guys. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.